had this mark on my forehead, and it just hasn't been going away. I don't know why I started off with that. It's really been bugging me. Mainly because I watched Shazam, and in the time that I watched it until now, I completely forgot about it. So Shazam really wasn't like a massive hit. It did pretty well when it came out. I remember seeing it. Granted, I fell asleep when I saw it in the theater, and I had seen it a couple times after this, so I had to get a good refresher in for this. But this movie wasn't crazy big. It's very different from the Zack Snyder films and takes place in this bizarro universe where DC movies are just fun, and apparently it's also canon with the Zack Snyder movies and all that. It's this weird thing going on where they didn't really have like a brand like cohesion going on, and it was very odd to say the least. But yeah, I don't really have a lot much to say about Shazam. I feel like this is going to be a very short video, but if you've seen this movie, I'm sure you think, okay, that was pretty cool. That's what I think about it as well. It's perfectly fine superhero stuff. It's stuff you've seen before, most likely, if you've seen a superhero movie. But the one thing that I think has it going for it, and I think what shines the most, is it's the movie Big with Tom Hanks, but with a superhero. I honestly love that concept, and it translates pretty well onto the screen. It's very funny to talk about Zachary Levi now, knowing like how much of a mental breakdown that he went into promoting the sequel for this, which I will talk about down the line, which I've seen. And all I gotta say is he is much more digestible in this movie because there's not as much of him. It is mainly balanced between uh, regular Billy Batson, played pretty well actually by Asher Angel, and then superhero Shazam with Zachary Levi. And I also want to note that if Shazam was made 20 years ago, uh, I would put money on it that Jimmy Fallon definitely would have been cast as Shazam. Like, come on. He gives so much Jimmy Fallon energy in this, and just yeah, I really did like Asher Angel in this. He playing Billy Batson. I think he did a great job with what he was given, and this whole story about finding his actual family was really sweet and wholesome, which especially at this time for DC was barely a concept. So good on them for that. I also think Jack Dylan Grazer nails that nerdy superhero fan thing, which I think translates into the second film as well, but we're not going to talk about the second film right now. I also really did like Mark Strong as the main villain, Thaddeus Savannah, and my friend told me this when I was watching it. He just plays Sans in this, and I cannot think about that about anything other than that along with this movie. That thought is going to be tied to this movie forever for me. The comedy itself is pretty lighthearted. I do enjoy a lot of it. There are a couple of jokes that haven't aged well just because we moved on in time. Not anything like bad or anything, but there's like flossing in that. It's very of its time with its humor, and while I don't think it's amazing, it doesn't hurt the movie. I also think like the visual effects here are pretty good too. It's just such an odd thing to point out in this because there are so many movies at this point that like were like peak of CGI and just were going buck wild. I mean, we just had that year we had Endgame, which well, I'm pretty sure that was 2019, where the effects for that were off the charts great. And this one has pretty good effects. It's not anything on the level of Endgame, but it suited what this movie was. I also want to point out that one shot of Billy jumping off the roof, saying Shazam, then he becomes Shazam in the air and starts flying off. That's honestly one of my favorite shots in all of the DCEU. Yeah, there's not much else I have to say about this. Just, continuing down the franchise at this point. Shazam's pretty fun. If you've seen it, I'm not raving about it, as you can tell by like more calm demeanor, I guess. But I think Shazam's alright. It's nothing too crazy. It's fun for the whole family. That's the phrase. That's good. I guess I'll give Shazam a 6 out of 10 and call it a day. Yeah, I don't even really have a question for this. I'll just say right now, today's the day I finished up my junior semester of college, and I am exhausted. I have some movies to catch up on, so there's going to be an influx of movies. I recently watched The Pope's Exorcist with Russell Crowe, so that review is going to be coming out. Of course, I'm going to continue down DCEU pipeline, and the next movie, if you look at like the release dates, it's not going to be what you think it is. Take that with anything. So anyway, like the video if you haven't already. Comment, whatever. I don't really care. Just something for me to engage with. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya.